Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We have two amazing coaches here today, Anjali and Nadezhda. Nadezhda is joining us from a part of the world where it is 1 a.m. So we are super grateful. And Anjali happened to have not been home, and she's gone through the trouble of connecting from her hotel room. So we are so grateful that they've taken the time and made adjustments to their lifestyle to come and present this to us about impactful product leadership. We speak so much of agile and transformation, and we live in a world of projects, but we also hear, you know, agile thinks of project as a product. So they're here to make that agile project to product impactful leadership for us. So feel free, Anjali and Nadezhda, to introduce yourselves a little bit. Uh, I have just so much awesome things to say, but I think it's best if you share from your
Yeah,
side.
we'll share something that may be relevant to this audience. But thank you all for joining us, and we are really excited to bring this topic of the 6 lenses of impactful product leadership to this community, the enterprise agility champs, right?
Yep.
And a big thank you to Meenakshi and Michael and Toby, who's not here but helped organize the session today. So thank you for inviting us. So my name is Anjali Leon. I'm an agility and product coach, and I'm based in Tampa, Florida. But today I had a training on the other coast, so I'm joining you from Juneau Beach. I run a boutique coaching and consulting practice called PPL Coach. And through this practice, I offer training, coaching, and consulting on strategies to arrive at better business outcomes sooner while nurturing our collective well-being. And today, my friend, collaborator, and co-creator of the 6 stances of product leadership is joining me for this presentation. So.
Thank you, Anjali. Hello, everyone. I'm Nadezhda Belousova, joining all the way from Berlin, Germany. I'm the integral master coach, business agility strategist, and a management consultant, supporting organizations to grow resilience, boost innovation, and nurture adaptive capacity. I run my boutique company called Volneo and serve my clients worldwide. Right, probably enough about us.
Yeah, so actually we have a small group today, so it would be lovely and so generous of you, if you're not in the middle of something, to turn on your cameras and engage with us as best you can. And let's make this a fun and kind of intimate conversation about this topic. We are going to create some engagement with all of you. We're going to be using a tool called Mentimeter. We'll be using it for a couple polls, but you'll also be able to engage with all of the slides and let us know things that you like and give us a thumbs up and thumbs down and keep the engagement alive. And actually, we're going to start right there because we want to know who's in this group, in this small, intimate group with us today. So let's pull up Menti, and you can connect to it either using your phone and linking through this QR code, or you can go to www.menti.com. Oh, actually, Meenakshi put a link in the chat, so you can make your way there. And let's pull up the first poll. So we'd like to know, what is your professional background? Who do we have in this room today? So as you make your way there, you can answer that question, and let's see who's joining us.
Okay.
Nadezhda, do you want to move to the next slide so we can see it?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So you can see, you can also go to www.menti.com, and the code is...
if you use your phone, we can see what type of professional backgrounds, the diversity of professional backgrounds is joining us today. More people.
We have, so far from the respondents, a lot of project managers and some coaching or change management professionals. And it's
okay.
Awesome.
We have
Cool.
more people joining.
Yeah, we have more people joining. And maybe we need to put the link to the Menti in the chat again. So those of you who are joining us, we're just getting a little information about who's in this space today and asking you for your professional background. So if you can either click on the Menti link in the chat or go to www.menti.com and use that code, you should be able to respond to this poll. And we're seeing we have a majority of project managers, not a lot more than the coaching or change management professionals here. So awesome. I think this is kind of what we have 50-50 of the two groups. Yeah. And actually, I think both of these groups will probably be looking at product leadership stances that we're going to be presenting today, kind of from the same perspective. And so we can kind of frame our conversation to that. We don't have any people with product or service in their title here. Awesome. Cool.
All right. Okay. So let's move on to the next poll. And I promise that's the last one. We really want to understand what do you hope to learn about product leadership? And clearly there's almost infinite amount of options that we could put into this poll, but we are offering you just a few. So if you could help us. Oh, wow. So we have quite an interesting spread. Okay. Just a few more seconds to see if somebody else wants to vote. Okay. I would say we have quite an interesting and wonderful spread of responses because we will be addressing all of this. We will make sure to sprinkle our ideas on how you can apply product leadership stances to coach product leaders, source from the group how others do it, and hopefully we will give you enough food for thought to compare and validate your own approach, as well as inspire you to apply product thinking to anything creative.
Yeah. So our motivation for creating these product leadership stances was kind of similar to yours. So let me first share why product leadership stances and what of it became important to us. Why did we create this? So I think that we can all agree we engage with product leaders, and the responsibility of a product leader is broad and deep, right? So for us, for Nadezhda and me, when we say product leader, we're talking about anyone who's tasked with effectively maximizing value, creatively navigating the ever-changing landscape of emerging product insights, cultivating generative customer-centric relationships, strategically mobilizing teams towards an inspiring vision, staying grounded in data-informed decisions to support a systemic change, right? I mean, all of these things come to mind. We have elevated that conversation a little bit higher. Sometimes you see it done very tactically, but this is what we're asking of product leaders. And sometimes those product leaders have product in their name and sometimes not. But effectively attending to all of these things at all times seems like we are asking them to do an impossible task.
Yeah, and we try to address the inherent complexity of this role through processes, techniques, and tools, but templates and mapping frameworks and canvases that address the jobs to be done still fall short. And in our observation, coaching product owners and product managers, they're overworked, overwhelmed, and over it. And you see, we're adding more and more things that probably you can recognize from your experience and background, that we have come to recognize that it's not only what you do, but how you do it is what makes a powerful difference. And product leadership is a creative process. It is tangled and messy, like all creative endeavors. So how do we make sense of this? How do we untangle this complexity?
Yeah, since, just the templates, the mapping, all of that stuff didn't quite fit the bill, we wanted to take a different approach. And so the approach that we took, we're calling product leadership stances. And so we are going to explore that with you today and help you see what we see.
Right. So, and here is the very quick plan for today of how we're planning to approach this topic. We'll start with really quick overview of 6 stances of product leadership and their enabling qualities. Then together we'll explore some key characteristics and areas of focus for each of the stances. And we will wrap up with a conversation about synergies and tensions between the stances. And because I guess, Anjali, you want to help our participants explain how we're going to engage throughout?
Yeah. So I'm going to invite you, like we would love, again, to have you on camera. I think we're a small enough group, so at times maybe they'll open it up for questions, but feel free to drop questions in the chat. If they're relevant at the point in which you bring it up, we'll address it. Otherwise, we'll leave some time at the end to answer your questions, right? So what are these product leadership stances? These we can think of as 6 lenses. So there are 6 of these stances. There's 6 lenses through which we look at a product. So you might even think of them as perspectives that are needed to consciously attend to a product for effective and impactful product leadership. Another way to look at it is the vantage points that we need to take as we compose and design and evangelize and give life to a product.
And yeah, so, as you can see on the screen, their names are visionary, strategist, system thinker, storyteller, customer advocate, and value navigator. And hopefully most of these are familiar language of the so-called archetypes, and a fairly straightforward, hopefully, to comprehend. The one that may be a little different is the value navigator. This lens is the dynamic quality of the product leader who is adjusting to emergence, to what is happening in the moment based on the feedback and current realities.
So I hope that these 6 lenses are resonating with you from your own experience with product. Now, each of these lenses has 3 enabling qualities. So for each of them, we have number 1, competence. So that is the knowledge and expertise that a product leader contributes towards maximizing business value. And they do it through the creation and evolution of products and services. The second quality in each of these lenses is connection. It's those long-lasting generative relationships and connections that a product leader needs to nurture, both within the organization and outside the organization. And then they do this in behalf of addressing the customer's unmet need in a way that also enables valuable outcomes for the organization, right? And Nadezhda, you
Uh,
want to share the
yeah.
third one?
So last but not least is collaboration. The fabric of product leadership is woven with the threads of diverse and multiple skills and talents. And we see that collaboration is the only way to make a meaningful change happen. So effective product leadership requires all three of these enabling qualities in each lens. And we also see that each of these enabling qualities is seated in curiosity as the 4C, as openness to continuous learning from emergence, serendipitous, and feedback. So let us look now more precisely, more in depth into the product leadership stances, and let's unpack them. So what I would like to offer is to start with the visionary as the compelling vision, inspiring presence, inviting the future. Here are some of the characteristics that we came up with when we were creating this stance. As visionary is a stance combining entrepreneurial spirit, charismatic engagement, courage, and impressive grit. They're futuristics, passionate, and tend to generate a ton of unconventional ideas. So looking at the screen with some of the key characteristics of the visionary, you can probably think of someone famous or some kind of a figure who is a visionary. And we would like to invite you to drop in the chat who comes to mind to you when you think of the visionary stance personification. Go ahead and share with us some names. Yeah. Yeah. And his product was a whole different way of being, way of relating.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, Obama.
Again, Obama, like Gandhi, I think his product was quite different from some of the products that we might think of in our organizations. But Elon Musk has this visionary stance in products that are quite familiar to us and might be similar to what we have in our organizations. Anybody else come up for you?
Steve Jobs, yes. Looking beyond the edge of known.
Oh, I don't know who Dr. Kalam is. Can whoever do that? Do you know, Nadezhda?
Nope.
Sure, if you could
Sorry?
also describe a little bit about what approach brought up, Dr. Kalam, that would be great for us all.
Sure. So Dr. Kalam was a pioneer in Indian space research, and he had a vision. He basically wanted to make sure that the Indian space organization basically was was able to compete with the world, and also we reached new heights when it came to achievements. But at the same time, he was such a good person, a human being, and also a visionary in the sense that he also used many of these technologies for improvement on technological as well as for India of a defense perspective.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
And he went on to become the president of India.
Wow, I learned something today.
Me too, and I'm a little bit embarrassed because I didn't realize he was also the president of India, and I am from India. I should know that. Well, thank you, Akshay.
Oh, that's beautiful. And Chi, thank you so much for dropping the name of Martin Luther King Jr. That is really, that resonates with me.
Yeah.
So, okay, shall we move on then to the next stance? So the next stance is the strategist. All about understanding the playing field, contemplating possible options for the next several moves and scenarios. And here's what we would like to offer about the strategist. It's a very pragmatic stance, well informed about their business landscape, especially competition, steady and consistent. They're organized and objective and able to remove emotions from their decision-making process. All right. And looking at these characteristics, what do you think is the most important characteristics for a great strategist? Go ahead and pop it in the chat. There might be some characteristics that are not even on the slide. Sense of urgency. Thank you. That is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think observant is a big one, because can really be paying attention to what's happening. Anyone else wants to add?
Right.
Ah, collaborative.
Thank
so
you, Karen.
one of those qualities coming up here.
Yeah. And steady. Truly, if your strategy is changing every day, you probably don't have clarity about your strategy. Yeah, they're observant and active listeners. All right. Okay. So let us introduce you to the next stance. That is the system thinker. All about observing the patterns and connecting the dots. And the system thinker is all about sense making and recognizing dependencies. They consider consequences and cascading effects of decisions and are able to simultaneously see the whole and the parts. And the question we have for you about the system thinker is, what do you think is the impact of a great system thinker on their team and organization? If you happen to work with someone who exhibits those characteristics of a great system thinker, what impact did you notice they have on their team and organization? Yeah.
I love what Meenakshi said, take a holistic view. I think actually this group probably has a lot of great systems thinkers. If you're project managers and change makers, we tend to be pretty impactful systems thinkers.
Yeah, and this holistic perspective very nicely plays into ensuring alignment. And yes, they ask a lot of questions.
Very, very, lot of detail, but they make sense of that detail. And you can probably see in terms of contributing to product leadership, how if you're a good systems thinker, you might be doing a lot to support product leadership for the products that you're working on. All right, let's look at the next stance. So the next one we want to introduce you to is the value navigator. And Nadezhda alluded to this a little bit earlier. So this stance is the one that dynamically adjusts to what's emerging, incorporating tactical insights and moves almost on a daily basis. You can probably recognize that this stance being needed for product leadership. So here are some characteristics that we want to present to you when we think of value navigator. So you'll notice that the value navigator stance is a very practical and responsive stance, right? They're continuously assessing their environment, and then they're able to pivot and adapt and mobilize as the context changes. So as you're looking at these characteristics, what surprises you most about the value navigator stance? Could be something in here or something that comes up for you as I described this stance to you? Feel free to add it in the chat.
If there is anything that might have surprised you about this stance.
It did. The short-term focus surprised you, Meenakshi?
Because for me, it's the balance.
That's what we will be getting to soon. So we do need this perspective, this shorter term perspective. But if it's only this perspective, we might be falling short. No pun intended.
All right.
Anybody else? Anything surprised you about this stance? All right, then let's move on to the next one. So we are welcoming a popular stance for a product leader, which is customer advocate. This stance cultivates customer centricity at every step. They're always keeping the customer's interest at heart. So let's look at some of the characteristics of this stance. So from this stance, you're the #1 activist when it comes to user experience and support. You probably can recognize people who are really good at this stance in your organization. They're the ones who will go the extra mile with genuine curiosity, care, and empathy for that customer. So when we look at these characteristics or any others that come in mind, our question to you is, what is the ultimate superpower of a great customer advocate? Committed. Yes. And your customers can sense it, can sense your commitment. The team can sense your commitment. Anything else? All right, I think everyone's just taking it in. So let's look at the last one. The last stance, if you remember from the set of 6, is the storyteller that will complete the circle. This stance tailors the message so that it lands on the intended audience, engaging and inspiring through story. So you can do all of these things, and if you're not able to relate it to other people in a way that actually they value and make sense for them, then again, we might not be as impactful as we could if we can be. So storytellers, they are the ultimate translators of the abstract ideas of the visionary into personal, relatable, and engaging experiences, right? They're deeply attuned and expressive. They can help us imagine and gain access to different realities when done well. So, is storytelling happening well in your organization? And the question to you is, where might storytelling be most needed in organizations? And where do you feel that the storyteller stance might be most helpful? Again, add it to the chat. From your experience, where might storytelling be most needed in organizations? From the leaders?
Yeah. Storytelling is a fantastic way of cultivating organizational culture.
Absolutely. One of the times that it helps is when I'm being the customer discoverer, or discovering what they want. Yeah. And understanding, like being able to relate customers' problems to the rest of the organization, to the team that's doing the work, to be able to help them see what you see as a product leader and why you want a certain feature or certain thing to be implemented in the product. Wonderful.
But also for conveying specific meaning. All right. So As you probably noticed as we were going from stance to stance, that these lenses definitely overlap. So our goal is to emphasize their gravity points rather than provide distinct definitions for each. So let's hold them lightly.
Yeah. And you can also imagine that product leaders that you probably work with, you see, have developed strong capabilities in one or two of these stances. But to be effective and impactful in terms of product leadership, we believe that it is necessary to be able to consciously attend to all of them. And I hope that you can see that too.
Yeah, and by exploring each of these stances together, we will uncover paradoxes that could amplify or disrupt these stances. For example, competing on strategy and collaborating for impact, long-term direction and short-term wins, being data-driven and being empathetic. So the list goes on, and it probably will start to become even clearer why product leadership might be so daunting when you do it holistically. And we might even question if being great at each and every of these stances is even possible. So by exploring
for one
product
individual, right? For one.
Yes, for just one person to be great at all of them. So by exploring product leadership stances, we will invite you to apply product thinking to anything you want to intentionally design, develop, and grow. Be it your local community initiative, maybe your career, your personal brand, your company culture, or even organizational change. So before we move on further, I noticed Akshay put a question or a comment, let us say, that the storyteller has a negative connotation and asked us to elaborate. Can you say a little bit more, Akshay, why it comes to you as a negative connotation? What makes it negative for you?
Most of the time when somebody is talking about a storyteller, it's usually related to sales, and many times the issue is they do not convey the reality, because the whole idea is to make that sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
So
you for sharing that.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking from, right? So don't get me wrong. I just wanted a little bit more of clarification on that.
Anjali, would you like to take this one? Or
Sure. And I think Meenakshi alluded to this. So when we talk about the storyteller stands for a product leader, we're really thinking about how do they convey all of the aspects of the product in a way that other people can relate to. And we can, as humans, relate really well to stories, to real situations of people, to be able to light up a person's imagination, to be able to help them see what you see. And so when we talk about storytelling, it's not about telling yarns, as sometimes we think about. It's really about being able to capture the attention and motivation of the group that you want to influence and mobilize. And we leverage some of the other stances we'll see in a moment. And Meenakshi talked about data. So good storytelling is reinforced with data. It's reinforced with real quotes from customers, with real messages from customers. Yes, evidence-based. So that's the kind of storytelling we are talking about here. And in terms of instead of presenting like a slide of a whole bunch of bullet points, how can we visualize? How can we tell the story of whatever our roadmap or our vision in a way that's compelling and engaging to the group that is consuming that information?
And storyboards is just one of the many tools in the storyteller's stance toolkit. So, for example, one of the things. Oh, you know what? Actually, we're just sliding into the exercise that we would like to engage you in to try on the shoes of each the stance. So maybe that will help to distinguish a little bit what we mean. All right. So Anjali,
that's
I'm
perfect.
going to stop sharing and hand over
I
to
will
you.
share. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Akshar, I invite you to go to the, should we do breakout rooms or should we do it in this large group?
I think we can do
Nadezhda?
this all together because it will be much more like rich conversation. I hope.
I think so. I think so. Okay, because let's do it in a larger group and let's chat as we go along. So here we are done in breakout rooms. You'd be in different rooms, but we're all going to do this together, and you'll see each of the stances represented here. I hope you can see my screen with the mural. And
I'm
let's
going
put
to
the link in the
share
chat.
the link. Yes.
Okay, great. And so we see here around here, we have each of the stances, and there's a little open spot for you to drop one of these stickies. In the middle are stickies that represent what we might be paying attention to when we're looking at a product from one of these stances. So what are we paying attention to when we step into the shoes of one of these stances? So for example, let's look at iterative implementation. Why is it?
Just refresh
I
it.
need to refresh. Yeah. Iterative implementation. If I were paying attention to iterative implementation, what stance am I likely in if that's where my attention goes? Where do you think? Which of these stances? Iterative implementation.
That's very hands-on.
Where do you think? And you can drag it to the appropriate stance. We can do this as an example. Anybody want to take a stab at where this one goes? Which stance is kind of paying attention to how do we implement this thing iteratively?
How about strategist?
A strategist. Oh yeah,
Strategist does
that's
that
possible.
too.
But a strategist is a little higher level. They're thinking about options, bets. What bets are we going to place? When we think about implementation, we are in action. We're doing it. So which of these stances might be paying attention to that? How can we actually deliver this in an iterative and incremental manner? So I'm going to help you with this one. So this one is a value navigator focus. So the value navigator, I'm thinking, what do I do now? And then what can I do next? And what can I do next? And what can I deliver next? So you're in action. All right. So I see some folks are already pulling some of these into the appropriate spaces. Awesome. So please continue. And if there's questions about any one of these, we can dig into them further.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're getting the hang of it. Fabulous. Fabulous. Visionaries covered over here.
And again, there is no right or wrong. Think about the stances as gravity points more than like black and white clear definition.
And that's really what makes product leadership so complex, in that, yes, we need to kind of be paying attention to all of these, and it's nuanced in some places. But if we kind of broke this down so that we can actually really recognize, oh, this lens is needed, and what characteristics, what skills do I need to be able to apply this lens? and what do I need to be paying attention to? Wonderful. And I think some things are a process of elimination where there are few items left and you're able to. Excellent. I think we're kind of settling. One of them has a little gap here, so we'll see, at least based on what Nadezhda and I were thinking about when we put this exercise together. So looking at it from a visionary stance, one of the things that oh, somebody moved it already. So what might be here when we think about from a visionary stance? Yes, it's very future. We're looking at the future. They're looking at ambitious challenges that might be possible. We're thinking about possibilities, innovation. And one of the things that we thought is that you're also looking at opportunities to cross-pollinate ideas. You're looking at different domains and where there might be intersection between those domains and what might be possible in terms of your product from that intersection. So you're really being able to.
It's not a secret that lots of breakthrough innovations are happen through bringing adjacent domains and areas of knowledge, or taking the concept from one domain and trying it in a different one.
Yeah. Nadezhda, you want to debrief strategists?
Right. Yes. Clearly, strategists are only thinking about how to design a winning strategy. And winning strategy assumes you know where to play and how to win. You think about the competition and possible risks, as well as how to design alliances to strengthen your position and your competitive advantage. You're placing bets or options, and one of the also distinct orientation of the strategist is always calculating the benefits and costs, whether it's worth investing or not, whether it's a compelling option to bet on and how plausible it is to help us win or not. So that's why ROI, return on investment, is also one of the areas of focus of the strategist stance.
Yeah. And if we move forward to systems thinker, I think, again, you have correctly identified what we believe some of the attention, the areas of attention or areas of focus of a systems thinker. So they're looking at all of the data and observing patterns and noticing how things are interrelated, what's dependent on something else, and the impact of the decisions that they're making beyond just the product that they're working on. They're thinking about the flow of value. They're the value stream thinkers, if you will, and the scope. They're thinking about the limits of their product from applying this particular stance. And value navigator, like we talked about, is in the moment, making decisions in the moment, making adjustments. They're trying fail fast experiments. You can see this even in the speed at which I'm speaking. This is a stance that's in motion. They're active, and you can probably recognize a lot of this expectation on many of the product owners that work in our organizations.
But I also think about the very sense of the matter. Navigation happens in the moment, based on like you're driving, and here's some obstacle on the road, so you have to make a move. You have to make a decision here and now. You do not probably had it coming, but you have to deal with this as it comes.
Yeah. And that's the reality of so many of when we're executing the whatever it is that we're implementing, the realities that come up, regardless of the strategy that we put in place, we have to respond in the moment. The customer advocate, again, well chosen focus areas for this group. So thank you for doing this. So really, again, very much thinking about that customer, pain points, needs, getting customer feedback, really paying attention to the user experience, and really thinking, how can we delight our customers? How can we give them something that they didn't even know that they wanted? That's the focus of this particular stance. And the last but not least, Nadezhda, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. As Akshar was bringing the sales pitch of the storyteller, but what we mean by the storyteller stance is the one that deeply cares about the audience and the perception of the key message and what kind of summary needs to be delivered to whom at what time. They think very carefully about the storyline so that it resonates, so that it lands, and probably activates their audience or compels them to take certain action. And for that, storyteller needs to clearly discern what's in it for me, for each of the people present in their audience, so that they tailor this message. Because of course, you know, products are really complex, and you can go on and on and on about certain benefits of the product, but which specific key messages they need to seed, for example, to make a difference. So it's much more than a sales pitch, although I can admit it really helps to have a great storyteller stance if you're in a business development role.
Yes, yeah, and hopefully it's rooted in truth, so that you can actually follow through on what you promise. So I'm going to stop sharing. Nadezhda, I think you're going to take it back on.
And I'm taking it over.
So, you know, I hope that these things are starting to resonate with you.
Yeah, and with all the richness of things we're discussing, you probably already can feel the physical sense in your body of how tough and exciting a product leader's role can be. So, but it really might be challenging to hold all these stances together. So the reason it is so challenging to be an effective and impactful product leader is because of the expansiveness of the focus areas, as we have just seen. There's so many things to attend to, and it might be at times unsustainable, because looking at all these areas might feel like you're being pulled in a ton of different directions. So, and here is a little trick. There is a deeper meaning around how we place the stances. So if you look closer, you will see that these stances have some natural synergies, but there are also inherent tensions that we incorporated in this model. So the stances that we placed next to each other naturally share some superpowers, amplifying their impact. Can you see how the adjacent stances have overlapping characteristics? Each one supports the other. Anjali, would you like to share with us the example?
Yeah, let's actually look at one that's the visionary. So you can imagine a visionary becoming exceptional at that stance if they have outstanding storytelling skills and a strategic perspective, right? So combining the skill sets of a storyteller and a strategist, now the visionary is able to generate what we might think of as a resilient and compelling vision. And that's one that's grounded in assessment of its potential. So the strategist brings in to make sure that this is actually something that's feasible. So the visionary creates a powerful invitation and supports inspired alignment around a creative game plan that a strategist might bring. So here's an example of when we might use this. So imagine a visionary, taking from the visionary stance, you're preparing a pitch deck. With your storytelling, you can craft a pretty mind-blowing storyline. And you can make sure you're coming prepared with a strong set of unconventional options to explore with whoever it is that you're sharing this pitch with. So that you can actually make them see that this vision that you have can be translated into a reality. So can you see how those two support the visionary stance?
Yeah, and amplify impact of the visionary stance. All right, but that's not just that. You will notice that the stances we placed opposite of each other experience generative tensions and paradoxes, also known as polarities. They pull in seemingly different directions. And unfortunately, way too often product leaders oscillate between seemingly opposite choices or perspectives, using either or thinking instead of leveraging both ends of them in a creative way. We find tensions promising though, because potential is only possible when there is tension. So handing over to you, Anjali, to share with us.
Let's look at the tensions again, the visionary stance. So visionary stance had those synergistic stances. Where's the tension lie? So the visionary is holding an imaginative future of their vision. The other end is the value navigator, immersed in daily operations, right? So while the visionary is seeing the big picture, the value navigator cares about the fleshed out details. Can you feel the tension? So imagine you're coming from the visionary stance. You're trying to channel the efforts of your team in a strategic direction, bringing them back to the original vision. And then
somebody starts asking, but what color the button should be?
And the value navigator stance is to deal with those daily realities, right? And the hands-on work of skillfully navigating so that we can deliver value. So you can see being pulled in two different directions. But imagine them supporting each other.
How visionary can support the daily operations of and tactical moves of the value navigator, and the value navigator can support the visionary through emergent insights and channeling and fueling them for enriching the vision. So it's not either or, it's both and leveraging polarities is the key for creative way of holding the stances. So we're wrapping up.
Nadezhda and I use this to coach our product leaders to be able to see what capacities they can develop, what they can leverage. But we want to hear from you. You got a taste of this model that we put together. And we're wondering, what do you see? What are you taking away about the 6 lenses of impactful product leadership? So feel free to get off of mute and share, or add to the chat if you will. And let's explore, what are you seeing?
I just want to point out we have just 1 minute before our time box. So I just want to first of all say thank you to everyone. And you are welcome to stay if Nadezhda and Anjali would like to continue past that time. So I really don't want to keep anybody waiting past 8. Here is our link to our meetup. And just one other housekeeping activity I want to put in here before it's 8 is There's a North America Agile Coach Camp taking place in Arlington this weekend. It has just a few more spots left, and we usually do not advertise for any particular trainer or programs, but this Agile Coach Camp is one of stalwarts in the area in service of people. So we're making this an exception. So thank you all for your patience. I'll be quiet now. Mike, feel free to quit the recording. And as per Anjali and Nadezhda, thank you so much. And we're happy if you are happy to continue. This has been amazing.